Welcome back to Early-ish in the Morning. As always, it feels absolutely awful to be back. For those of you that are maybe joining us for the first time, this is a show where we attempt to shave the corporate armpits of America. Someone really take the time to fucking script that? Let's take pride in our work, people. A little bit of pride. Before we get started, I'd like us all to take a moment and just appreciate the fact that Christmas is now over. You know, I've been called the Grinch more than once this holiday season for my lack of interest in Christmas time festivities. I take it as a compliment though. The Grinch was simply against the capitalistic commercialization of Christmas. He was all for singing Kumbaya around the Christmas tree and sharing the love with those closest to him. Here's an interesting little Christmas tidbit for you guys. Many people don't know, but the Grinch was actually an advocate for the rights of workers. Did you know that the Grinch actually founded the original Workers' Party in the Soviet Union back in 1944? Neither did I. Speaking of lack of holiday cheer, today's show is going to be just a little different. Bit of a post-Christmas theme, if you will. Let me paint you guys a picture, okay? You and your family get together for the holidays, and you're sitting across the dinner table from family members that maybe share different political ideologies than you do, which in this country means they're either white trash Republicans or pansy-ass liberals. You've got your Uncle Dave to your right, and he's about 6 beers in, and he decides he's going to play political hero and convince the hillbillies in the room that the Trump presidency has been a complete and utter disaster. Suddenly, the table erupts into a shouting match like that of rabid sports fans foaming at the mouth, ready to support their team no matter what. Win or lose, these fuckers would light themselves on fire to ensure victory for their team of choice. In this case, ass versus elephant. What fascinates me the most about conflicts like the one I just described is that both sides of the table have no problem agreeing on the fact that Congress is corrupt, yet for some reason, neither side can seem to agree that their team is corrupt. Now I use this hokey-ass sports metaphor in the hopes that maybe, just maybe, I can get through to people that maybe don't follow politics on a regular basis. I've got news for you guys, and it's gonna blow you all away. They're all fucking corrupt. If I were to give $1 million directly to a politician, it would be considered a bribe, right? Well, thankfully, we live in America. There are limits to the amount of money I can legally give to a politician. However, I can give my fake $1 million bribe to a political nonprofit organization who in turn can disperse that money to political action committees or PACs, who can in turn use my fake money helping a political candidate willing to do my bidding. Essentially, a billionaire who wants corporate tax cuts because they will make said billionaire even more wealthy than he already is. He can't legally give $1 billion directly to a politician, but he can funnel $1 billion through multiple political nonprofits and super PACs that are also in favor of corporate tax cuts. That money will then go towards the campaign of a politician that, lo and behold, is also in favor of cutting taxes for multi-billion-dollar corporations. In the 2015 to 2016 election cycle alone, $6.5 billion were spent buying our elections. The Republican Party spent $1,504,082,969, whereas Democrats spent a whopping $1,567,116,293. Wow, what a difference. I suppose it's a coincidence that Americans only have 2 viable parties to choose from come election time. I'm sure money has absolutely nothing to do with it. This money didn't just magically flow into the pockets of every candidate looking to run for office. Oh no, it was given to them as a bribe by billionaires and big corporations to do their dirty work. Why does this money matter, you may be asking? I don't see how billions of dollars could buy our elections from us. Well, it matters because the candidate that raises the most money wins an election 97% of the time. This is mainly attributed to the fact that Americans are more than happy to cast their votes based simply on name recognition and political party association. In primaries, where an incumbent is being directly challenged by an unknown candidate of the same party, the incumbent has a significant advantage simply due to the fact that his or her name was on the ballot box last time. Is that inherently a bad thing? Maybe not, but the things candidates do to produce and maintain that notoriety is. The easiest way to produce name recognition among voters is through both televised and online ads, both of which cost money, hence the $6.5 billion spent in 2016.
Swamp Captain Mitch McConnell has created millions of jobs for China people. While doing so, Mitch has gotten rich. In fact, his China family has given him tens of millions of dollars. Mitch's swamp people are now running false negative ads against me. They are also childishly calling me despicable and mentally ill. The war to drain the swamp and create jobs for West Virginia people has begun. I will beat Joe Manchin and ditch Cocaine Mitch for the sake of the kids.
The necessity of raising money to produce said name recognition through political ads means that candidates are stuck in a constant race to outspend their opponent and will need to fundraise that money unless that particular candidate is already inherently wealthy. Real quick, I'd like us to take a look at the top industries that poured the most money into the 2016 and 2018 elections. And you guys can tell me whether or not you see a pattern. There are so few regulations being enforced on the money being dumped into political races that often the money being donated is actually from undisclosed sources by entities known as political nonprofits. This money is referred to as dark money. Political nonprofits are organizations funded by corporate money that are free to piggy bank as much as they want. Did I mention that most political nonprofits are actually untaxed by the federal government? You and I pay taxes, but I guess it's a good thing that fake charities that are literally bribing our politicians are not being taxed at all. OpenSecrets.org discusses the basics of dark money. They go on to say, political nonprofits are under no legal obligation to disclose their donors. Donors that don't disclose themselves are considered to be dark money groups. Super PACs can also be considered dark money groups in certain situations. While these organizations are legally required to disclose their donors, they can accept unlimited contributions from political nonprofits and shell corporations who may not have disclosed their donors. In these cases, they are considered dark money. So in a lot of cases, you're not even allowed to know exactly who is bribing your congressmen and women. Because nonprofits can accept unlimited financial contributions, and there are federally regulated spending caps on political action committees, nonprofits funnel their money through a very complicated network of PACs and super PACs until that money is inevitably turned into political attack ads in favor of the original donor's candidate of choice. Let's focus for a moment on the two leading current political nonprofits. The number one donor being the Center to Protect Patients' Rights, renamed American Encore in 2014 after people started to realize how much money they were pouring into our elections. American Encore has donated the most money towards political action committees since the year 2008. The center receives much of its funds from another nonprofit called the Freedom Partners, the second largest donor, an organization with significant ties to the billionaire duo, the Koch brothers. Koch brothers who almost infamously now donate millions of dollars towards electing conservatives across the country each year. Let's follow the money, shall we? The Koch brothers pour millions of dollars into both the center and the Freedom Partners. That money is then donated by the untaxed nonprofits into PACs such as the NRA, Americans for Prosperity, and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the latter being the second largest spender on political attack ads in the most recent federal elections. The number one spot actually belongs to the liberal PAC, Majority Forward, who spent an insane total of $40,264,895 worth of expenditures in 2018. Just in case you conservatives thought I was picking on you guys for a second there. Some people like to argue that dark money poses no threat to our democracy because dark money doesn't go directly from an individual to a politician and hence cannot be considered a direct bribe. The Supreme Court's ruling in 2010 on a case called Citizens United v. the Federal Election Commission actually equivocated money as speech, and therefore money given to and in service of political candidates is now actually considered to be protected under the First Amendment. The consequences of this decision essentially rule corporations and nonprofits fueled by billionaire corporate CEOs to hold the same constitutional rights as an American citizen. Yet conveniently, these same corporations are not held to the same federal election laws as, say, you or I. We will undoubtedly spend more time discussing the ridiculousness of the argument that corporations and nonprofits somehow hold the same constitutional rights as individual citizens, but for now, I'm way too fucking worked up to even go there. But thank God that money is protected under freedom of speech, because these corporations seem to have so much to say, not just in influencing our elections, but also influencing our representatives once they're actually elected into office through the use of lobbying firms. Lobbying firms are paid representatives of both corporations and labor unions, to be fair, that essentially pay for representation on Capitol Hill. And oh boy, are they represented. According to The Atlantic magazine, corporations now spend about $2.6 billion a year on reported lobbying expenditures, more than the $2 billion we spend to fund the House, $1.18 billion, and the Senate, $860 million. We being us, the taxpayers. However, as The Atlantic points out, for every dollar spent on lobbying by labor unions actually, representing American workers, corporations spend a disproportionate $34. And we all know that the first priority of a company like Amazon is to ensure the prosperity of its workers. What should truly worry the American people is that when asked behind closed doors whether or not a lobbyist had ever changed their mind on a policy issue on the basis of a recent donation by the company the lobbyist represents, 47% of the politicians admitted to having completely flip-flopped on their decision based on the money they received. 47% admitted to flip-flopping, and I'd bet my life that actual number is much higher. Look, I don't expect everyone in the country to suddenly agree on all of their ideological differences. I don't live in Narnia. I know that there are some issues where the correct answers don't immediately present themselves. This country will be split on the morality of abortion, who to and who not to allow into the country, and whether or not our country has the right to bomb the fuck out of the rest of the world in endless wars just to make a profit. But for the love of God, can we stop pretending like either side of the aisle is looking out for our best interest? Because until we will remove corporate money from our governments on both a state and national level, you're going to continue to go bankrupt from your medical bills, continue to remain broke and work 50 hours a week, all while living in the wealthiest country the world has ever known.